Not kick us offline, but kick us off for the morning.
I would. Let's see. I'm going to tune up my guitar. So my tuning spiel is that to tune a guitar means in Hebrew you call it chaven, to tune it, to get it attuned. And the same thing is true with our souls, our neshamot. So to have kavana means to attune ourselves to what's happening around us in the world. And what's happening theologically and philosophically and religiously is God has blessed us with another day. And so we say thank you. We can say Marabu, we can say Mode'ani, we can say all of our tefillot to express our thanks and our appreciation of us being alive, which is no small thing these days. Congratulations to us all. And we can say Mode'ani, thank you for my body and my soul. Mode'ani lefanecha melechai b'kayam shechezarta b'nishmati b'chemla rabba emunatecha rabba emunatecha. So that was me singing Mode'ani. Now, let's have everybody sing Mode'ani. But we can't do it together because otherwise it would be a horrible mess of sound, as you know. But you can do it in your own home and sing out loud, using your diaphragm in your best Cantor Levine voice. Are you ready? Here we go. Mode'ani. Mode'ani lefanecha melechai melechai b'kayam shechezarta b'nishmati b'chemla rabba emunatecha I can't hear you, but it's not because I'm not supposed to hear you. Rabba emunatecha. Beautiful. All right, friends. Welcome. We are so blessed today for lots of reasons, for life and for blessing. And also, you're starting a brand new experience. This bar and bat mitzvah experience is not only an opportunity to engage in Judaism and in the shul, but with your kids and with your parents, right? This is a bonding moment, and such an incredible opportunity to assure continuity, to express hope in the future, to have conversations about your deepest values. And so that's the process that we're going to embark on together. Is these bar mitzvah and bat mitzvah workshops are here for us to delve deeper into the experience, to open our hearts, our minds, our souls to the experience. There's two ways to experience anything in life. One way is on the surface. We can sort of skate by and go with the flow. That's nothing wrong with that. That's a beautiful thing. But we prefer to really pause and to focus on what's about to happen, prepare ourselves so that we can experience the full potential of depth and meaning and love and beauty. And so with that, let's say the Shechianu together as we're going to embark on this new project together of creating a beautiful and meaningful celebration and life cycle moment as our children come of age. Here we go. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'echianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'echianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. We all say amen. Hey. place a hand on your child. May God bless you and keep you. May God shine light upon you and be gracious to you. May God bless you with happiness and peace as we begin this journey together toward becoming a bar and bat mitzvah. Mazel tov. All right, friends. We hand it over to Kenna Levine to take us through the morning.
So good morning, everybody. Okay, there's an echo. All right. So good morning, everybody. We find ourselves sort of on a cusp. We're going to approach this morning with the intent that when we actually have the B'nai Mitzvah, your bar or bat mitzvah will be in person. And in doing that, we're going to have a conversation not in person to try and achieve that. And so we're on new grounds ourselves. We've not done one of these online before. We don't have a real sense of timing. And so there's a lot of experimentation going on here. We appreciate your being here. We realize this is somewhat of an experiment in this model. So we're going to go forward. We're going to try and go over, number one, some of the meanings behind what we're doing over the course of the workshop. We're going to try and look at some of the pragmatics and the things that we need to get achieved. We're going to look at the ritual. We're going to look at the spiritual. We're going to look at the mitzvah component of things. And that's our goal. And so normally we would begin with a get to know you process, but we don't have that availability. Hopefully at some point we'll get a chance for everybody to get together and meet all the families within their class, which is one of the real beautiful moments in this process. So we're going to begin. I hope you received the emails in which Sherry Ann sent out to everybody. It had a number of documents that you will need for this morning, some of which you can get by without, but some of which you really will need to have printed off. And so we hope everybody has had that chance. We're going to begin with a document called Getting the Most from Your Bar or Bat Mitzvah. Normally what we would do is break up into groups. We would have the kids I would meet with the kids, the rabbi would meet with the parents, and we'd go through a series of questions, and then we'd bring everybody together and see how the answers either in some way met together or in some way were completely disjointed. But today we're going to do it in family units. So what we're going to do is ask each family to answer certain questions themselves, amongst themselves. And then at the end, what we'll do is ask if there's any peculiar findings that you discovered in the process of the discussions. All right. So the first question for each family is, and this, if you're in different rooms, you may have to come together for this first few minutes of this, okay, to have the discussions. But the first question is, when I think of bar or bat mitzvah, and your job is to complete that sentence. When I think of bar or bat mitzvah, go. I see some people getting notes. This is very cool. Love it. Okay, we'll give you about another 30 seconds, then I'm going to ask the second question.
Rabbi, how you doing today? Can you hear me? Rabbi? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Can, yeah. Yes, I can.
Oh, there you are.
Hello.
Sorry about that. We had a miscommunication here. So I'm supposed to be answering some questions here today, correct?
I can't let
Yes.
you walk you through it. Yeah.
Right. The
All right,
first
one
question that as a family you're going to ask one another is to complete a sentence. It's when I think of bar or bat mitzvah,
When I think of bar mitzvah,
right.
Like
Complete the
blank.
sentence. You and students and parents. The second
I can
question,
barely hear
the
this
most-
thing. Hold on a second.
The second question, yeah, and we're going to ask everybody to mute so that we can. All right. Second question is, at my bar mitzvah or at my child's bar mitzvah, I wish I could.
At my child's bar mitzvah, I wish I would like to participate in it.
Well, no, don't. We're asking you to write it down. Don't answer the questions out loud.
Oh, write it down. My bad.
Sherry Ann, can you make me a co-host? All right, and then the third question, this is a little bit different in nature. After my child's bar mitzvah or after my bar or bat mitzvah, I hope to be treated or I expect to treat my child. This is about a difference. How are things going to change? How do you hope they will change? As the student, I hope to be treated as the parent, how do I hope to treat my child differently?
Can you guys repeat the first question and the second question again? I got the third question.
When I
finally got
think
it.
of bar or bat mitzvah, is the first one. The second one, at my child's bar or bat mitzvah, I wish I could.
Okay.
Okay, let's take about another minute and then we're going to unmute everybody and see what we got. Rabbi, good. I don't know how. Okay, so this is where we find out within each of the families whether or not you're sort of going on this journey together or whether or not there might be some divergent goals in process. And our hope is to make explicit what might be implicit and to have the conversations so that we can join together on a journey. So The question would be, the first one, if you have some answers, please feel free at this point to unmute. I've asked everybody to do that if you'd like. And the question, let's see what we got for when I think of bar or bat mitzvah,
I said I think about all the hard work and the accomplishment put into it.
And it is hard work, and anything of value has that element of feeling great after you've achieved it. Yep.
We said in light of January 20th and the election, it's kind of like an inauguration into the Jewish community.
Ooh, I like it. Very nice. Good. Anybody else? Yes, Mr. Paransky.
So my mom's not here right now because she's telling my big brother to stop with his tin flute. So I said for question 1, when I think of it, I think of the Torah, and me doing the prayers, and more importantly, the party afterwards.
And
And
more
Mom
importantly,
said-
okay.
And
All
my
right.
mom said she thinks of me growing up.
There you go.
Second question.
Oh, wait. We're still on the first. Hold on.
Oh,
Anybody
still-
else on the first?
Okay.
Hey, Rabbi. So can you hear me okay?
Yes.
So my answer to the first question is I would like to understand more about why the bar mitzvah is so significant in someone's life and translate that to my son and make sure that he understands why it's such a meaningful and important stage of life and transition into manhood, as it is a symbolic event in someone's life.
Good. And as a matter of fact, the last session we're going to do today, the rabbi is going to do a session on coming of age, which kind of gets there. Okay. So that's great.
Can I ask Brenna to
Anybody-
say more about her answer? Brenna, say more about your answer.
Did I say more about my answer?
Would you say more about your answer?
Oh, my baby growing up?
Yeah. What's that? Tell us about that.
Look, I still have a teeny person at home, and we've done this once with my older one, but I can't believe that Shai is already at bar mitzvah age.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a recognition of a, unbelievable process.
Yes, that is a much more eloquent way of putting it. Thank you.
I'm just different way of putting it.
And how quickly it happens. Yeah. All right. So second question, at my child's bar or bat mitzvah or at my bar or bat mitzvah, I wish I could. Yes, Chris.
I wish I could relax and enjoy it in the moment. With the first 2 B'nai Mitzvahs we've had, they've been wonderful, but they go by so fast, and I feel like my energy is so amped up and just making sure everything's happening that it's over before I even realize it started.
Yeah, one of the things I say to families at the rehearsals is to make sure that you take moments where you stop and take pictures in your mind of what's happening, because you can get so wrapped up in everything else that you lose the ability to stop and reflect and to see the beauty of your child in that moment. Yeah. Good. Anybody else?
We wrote that we'd like, so I think as parents, we would like to participate, but ideally, depending on COVID, we would like extended family to also participate.
Yep. There's an answer we've never heard at a retreat before. Shehechianu. Yep. All right, the third one. I hope to be treated, or I hope to treat my child. What's going to change? What's the expectation of change?
My dad said that he was going to treat me the same. And I said I wanted to be treated less like a child.
Good discussion.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump in because Mom is on a different place, but I'm going to say I want to give him more responsibility.
Okay. You want to define? Are there ways in which? What are some of the specifics you might in which that manifests?
Well, maybe the choices that he makes. that we have to trust that he's doing and making the right choices.
Okay. Yes,
I would like-
Aurelia. Oh, go ahead.
I would like to.
to be treated with more respect. And my mom says that she hopes to be treated with, she wants me to demonstrate more maturity and respect to her, me and my, to her and my dad.
Okay, good.
So I would like to make sure that, you know, we as a family, and also Gabe understands that I think religion is very important in someone's life as a foundation and beliefs and as a person as he grows up. And I want this moment to be that stepping stone for him as he, you know, becomes a man, and really expect him to understand that's important for him to build habits around and build a community around, like we're doing right now. And that's what I expect.
Good. So this undertaking of both privilege and responsibilities, that's what's going on here. It's a combination, because kids like to think that adulthood means more privileges. Because we as adults realize as we get older, it really means more responsibilities, that there's some privileges that come along with it. And so as each child begins bar bat mitzvah lessons, what you're going to hear from me is I'm going to treat you like an adult, which means I'm going to expect you to take seriously what you're being asked to do, and to study and to take on those responsibilities. With responsibilities come privileges. All right, you can't have one without the other. As adults, we've all learned that for sure. All right, I hope at least that there's a series of other questions here that you as a family can go through, and to begin having those discussions together. And that's really our goal, is to open up the communication between parent and child in this process, so that you're on a joint venture, a joint journey going through it together. For the second session we're going to do here, you are going to need the materials that we sent to you. We sent you two things. One is a text study questions, all right, and the other is your specific Torah reading. All right, so on that one, everybody got something different. All right, everybody should have those two documents. There's one that looks like this. Okay, it says text study questions. Okay, and there's one that has your particular Torah reading. They're really, in the course of the year, every week has a pre-assigned text to it. There really are two different kinds of text you might encounter. If you're in Genesis, for example, what you're going to find is a text that includes many stories. And the values to be gained through it are through looking at the life experiences of the biblical characters. The other kind of text you may encounter is one about law. Sometimes it's a little bit more direct, but it can also be a little bit more unclear in certain ways at the same time, in terms of application, in terms of its underlying meanings. So you have two sets of questions on the page. If your text is about a story, here's a series of questions to help you through it. If your text is about laws, here's a series of questions to explore that text. And what we're going to do is give you some time. This is really what we want families to do. And this is not just about the student. We want families to take some time and to study together. About 4 months before your bar bat mitzvah, the student will be called into the rabbi's office, and they'll begin working on the speech. But we want it to be more than just about a speech. We want it to be really a learning opportunity, to take the text and in some way give meaning to it. Rabbi, I see you've unmuted. Did you want to share something?
I just said they'll be called to the rabbi's office in a positive way.
Right. It's not like being called to the principal's office. That's a completely different thing. Right. Thank you. Right. You'll have the opportunity to visit with the rabbi. Okay. And so we want to give you a few minutes now to read through the text. Rabbi and I are here to answer some questions as you may have along the way. All right. Yes, Matt. Yes, sir. Max.
I got every single chapter. I don't know which one's mine.
Well, they're all yours. You should have about 3 or 4 chapters of reading.
No, I got more than that.
I sent on the email, I attached everyone's Parsha, so you'd have to just pick yours out.
All right, so let's go around and see whose is whose. Should we do that?
I don't know which one's
Okay.
mine.
All right, hold on one second then. All right. Give me a second to pull it up here. Where's the page? Oh, here we go. You're March 12th? All right, you should have Vayikra. Vayikra. It's probably about halfway through. Is there anybody else who's not sure what their parasha is?
Actually, Cantor, I think Brandon's is Bo, but I don't see Bo included in the attachments.
It's in there. I saw it this morning. when
Oh, I see it. Nope, I see it now. Nope, it's in the middle. I got it. Sorry.
Okay, good. Anybody else who's unsure?
Well, we know what ours is, and it wasn't attached. Ours is Noach, and it wasn't attached, but we have the translation in the binder. We just use that, I assume.
Okay, yes, if you have the binder, it's in there. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So the Talmud says silence is agreement. I'll assume everybody else has theirs. Okay, go for it.
How much time do they get?
Let's say about 10 to 15 minutes, and we're here to help.
Yeah, and Vayikra is a challenging one, so yeah.
Yes. The book of Leviticus can be interesting.
It's all 6 chapters, right?
Yes.
That's funny. Yeah, you can let us know if you have any questions, or you can chat them. However you want to do that is fine.
Hi, I just stepped away for a minute. Can you please remind me what we're supposed to be doing right now?
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
Go ahead, Rabbi. Go ahead.
After you.
Okay. So you're supposed to be reading through the text of the Torah reading for your week. And there's also a text study question guide that came along to help guide you through it.
Okay, the English?
The English, right.
Okay, thank you.
Take another couple minutes and then we'll bring everybody back together. All right, so we know that you're not going to finish this process today. This is to take a parasha and try to digest it and make sense of all of it is not a 10-minute process. But what we wanted to do is to at least begin this opportunity to study together. And it might be interesting to see what kinds of questions there are, because I imagine that some of the questions will apply more generally, more broadly as well. So if there are questions, the rabbi and I are here, and please ask. So I know, Jamie, you always have ideas. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, there are a lot of names here which are really difficult for me to figure out how to pronounce.
Okay.
How is Aurelia going to figure that out? Because I can't help with that.
Okay, what's your part? What's the name of the reading?
Lech Lecha.
Lech Lecha. All right. So if you need help with the pronunciation of the names, the rabbi or I can sit with you and go through that. You're not going to need a lot of the names that you've got there. It's a genealogy is what you've got there. You're not going to need a lot of those. What you need in your Sedra is Abraham, Sarah, Lot. You don't need most of them, Terach, but there's a lot of other names you don't necessarily need. We'll help you define that.
Okay.
That's what I was just kind of going to lead to, Kenna Levine, is that Eliana's parsha was actually this past week's, or this past
Vayera.
Yeah, and so it's a long story, and so I think there's the highlights of the story, right? There's the welcoming a guest, there's the angels, there's Sodom, and Lot's wife going to the pillar of salt and stuff like that, and then there's other things that happen with and then Isaac being born. But it's a lot of so does she focus in on one part that speaks to her when she's or is she supposed to be covering the whole of the story? How do you suggest she takes that apart?
Yeah. So having just gone through that Torah reading, it is just chock full of stuff. It's how do you, right? The answer is you are, at the end of the day, you're going to focus. You can't possibly bring all that together. There's 16 sermons waiting to come from that one particular text. All right. And so you're going to find one area that speaks to you. Also, by the way, and if you've gotten when you meet with me 13 months out, you'll get a binder. You guys have the binder. In there's two sections, right? One is the translation. The second, in the last part of the binder, there's also some interpretation that will look at usually two different parts of the text and offer some understandings of it. So it helps you focus on one or two, but you're not going to try and bridge the whole thing together. It can happen, but it's rare.
Yeah, and generally the criterion for selecting a part of the Torah portion to focus on is one, just what piques the student's interest, and then secondly, what makes for the best, right? What has the most interpretation around it, makes for, you know, past discussion and fodder that we can use in research, and also just relevance to the student. And so there are a couple of criterion that we use to select a topic, and that'll happen about 4 or 5 months out when we start meeting together. But for now, just be a generalist and get to know your whole parsha and the other stuff around your bar mitzvah preparation, bat mitzvah preparation.
When you say 4 or 5 months out, how is the summer calculated in that? Like,
yeah, so if there's a summer break in the middle of those 4 or 5 months, we'll start a little bit earlier.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll back it up into April, May instead of summer.
Okay, thank you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Anyone else? Yeah, Mark.
So Leo's is Pekudei, and it seems like it could qualify as stories and laws. I mean, it's not traditional laws, but it is rules. It talks about rules, and then it's not traditional story, you know, with so and so meets so and so, and they do this.
Right.
So I guess my question is, you know, how do we, the guiding questions are great, but how do we approach them if this story kind of if this parasha kind of bridges both?
Yeah, good. So there are a number of ways to create meaning out of the Torah text. One of the easier ways is through story, right? And through example, and it gets a little more challenging when we get into laws, and especially back El Pekudei, so I think we're in the Mishkan, right? Tabernacle construction, things like that. Luckily, we have very creative tradition of rabbinic texts and rabbinic interpretations throughout the centuries. And even the most mundane, seemingly mundane parts of the Torah are ripe for interpretation and relevance. And so it'll be an interesting research process to discover how the rabbis draw meaning from seemingly mundane construction texts, right? And so we use the rabbinic methodology of interpretation to find meaning. And so that's what I'll help the students with, understanding that rabbinic process of taking a text and either through grammar or story or law to develop meaning, personal meaning.
Yeah, so in a construction, you might be able to talk about the effects of when you are in certain kinds of environments. How does that play? How does that help us pray? Or how does that help us do whatever it is we're doing? What's the power of the environment that's being created?
Right. And there's a lot of details in the laws. So there's conversations about perfectionism and guidance and instruction and mentorship. So there's a lot of arenas to explore.
Yeah.
But for now, again, just get to know your parsha. That's your charge. Okay. And we'll worry about the details of the construction of the Devar Torah as we get closer.
Yeah.
Just one more quick question about it, though. So Jared's doing part of Breshit, and the part that's highlighted for him that he would be reading, or the different aliyot, that's clearly not the whole text. So should they focus on the part that they're actually reading that week, or should they focus on the whole story?
Okay. Can Levine teach us about triennial versus annual? And
okay. Thank you. So there are two different traditions. When the Torah was made a public experience, the reading of it, there was the tradition that existed in Babylonia, and there was the tradition that existed in Israel, in the two different communities. In Babylonia, they broke the entire text into 54 sections, and they read it weekly, and they finished it in a year. In the triennial, it was broken into a 3-year process. And so it's 1/3 of a reading each week. Both have Talmudic basis and in terms of their sources. So we do the triennial. We spend more time, less time on the reading and more time on the interpretations, so that we can learn more from it. In terms of the speech, Rabbi, I think the answer is pick what you'd like to talk about, as opposed to does it have to be that particular week? Am I correct?
That's correct. Yeah. So yeah, the entire parsha is available for your selection of topics.
Can you talk a little more? You guys have mentioned a few times kind of the speech that Aurel will have to do as opposed to the passage. Can you just explain that a little bit more?
Yeah. So there's a couple different word names that we call the presentation. Dvar Torah is the traditional term, which means a word of Torah, which means sort of a brief sermonette, is a Dvar Torah. And so it's generally referred to as a Dvar Torah. We also call it bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah speech, right, is the sort of English secular way of referring to it. And but it's a sacred speech, so we call it a Dvar Torah in Hebrew. Right, the point of it is to summarize the parsha for the community, and then present an interesting topic and an interpretation, and to develop what's the word, to exemplify, to role model the process of extracting meaning from the text.
Does that help?
So do you mean kind of finding an example from the world around us today to help us extrapolate meaning?
Right. So, for example, Noah, it says Noah was a righteous man, so what does that mean to be a righteous person? The medieval commentator defines it as such and such. The other medieval commentators decided it as such and such. I think it means, to be an upstanding citizen. These are the ways we can be an upstanding citizen today. So it's the process of taking meaning from the Torah text and making it relevant into our lives.
And the rabbi will help you individually with that. And when you get to the meetings with him. But please, if in the interim you have questions, we're here and we're happy to help you with with those kinds of things along the way. If you want to spend more time on it, we're happy to help. We love Torah study.
Can I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
So if I was thinking of having my son read the text and sort of try to relate it to his life and how he can use that as a means of understanding things he's doing in his life, is that the right path? And or can we set up personal Zoom meetings with you guys to discuss what we're thinking?
Yeah, good. So in general, the bar bat mitzvah process really begins at the Torah reading and the prayer training, and then the Dvar Torah writing comes toward the later part of the bar mitzvah process. So the point, the message today is just really to get to know your parsha, to
an overall exposure.
Expose yourself to the Torah portion and to get to know it a little bit.
And I think what you're asking is the student will have several meetings with the rabbi, one-on-one, to flesh it out and to talk through what are the possibilities. That will start about 4 months prior.
Right. So we'll get serious about the Dvar Torah 5 months prior.
Okay. Is that what you were asking?
Until then, we're going to focus on prayers. Yeah.
Yes, that is. And in those 4 months, other than the Dvar Torah, will you also be going over the prayers, making sure they have them?
I'll go through the bar mitzvah process in just a few minutes. Okay.
Okay.
So I couldn't have paid you to ask a better question. All right. Good. We will go through that. What I thought we would do is just take a 5-minute bathroom break. I now have about 8 minutes of, so let's come back at 3 minutes of. This way everybody's a chance to grab a drink, go to the bathroom, come back. 3 minutes to 11, we're back and playing.
You want to see the hurricane outside? That's our tropical depression.
Please.
Don't mind me pressing. Oh.
Wow. Just
Wow, listen to that.
Right. So here's
I'd
the
be
quote.
sitting outside.
Wait. So I've got a few days of that.
Yeah, I'd be sitting outside. It would put me to sleep, the sound. One white noise.
Kind of interesting, yeah.
Yeah. Usually you have to pay for sounds like that. All right, we're going to ask everybody to start coming back.
Yeah, so I guess a sense of the rhythm of the next year.
Yeah.
Thanks.
We'll give people a few minutes to gather. I'm looking around the room and I'm realizing, with very few exceptions, I know, Chris, you've had one before here at Brit Shalom. This is predominantly a group of people, a group of families who have not yet had a bar or bat mitzvah at Brit Shalom. So there's a lot of new information here. Parentheses, you've had a bar or bat mitzvah, but not one at Brit Shalom yet. So there's a lot of novelty here, and we're going to try in this next session to give you some overview of the process. And I think this is going to make parents feel a lot more comfortable, particularly the first timers. We'll walk you through a calendar year. This is not the end of the process in terms of questions. Tomorrow, Sherry Ann will be sending out a B'nai Mitzvah manual to everybody that will also have a lot of this information in writing as well. Okay, and so there'll be a backup to our discussions. So let's begin with what the year looks like a little bit. And to help us, just to meet all the people, Melissa Magenheim is here. Melissa is runs all the business of the institution and keeps us all sane. Sherry Ann is your first contact with everything to do with bar mitzvah, bar bat mitzvah. She's the coordinator for the program. And so we have a team of resources available to you. All right. So I'm going to start out with 13 months in advance. And it really has to do with your particular date of assignment. So 13 months prior, I will sit down with you, with each of the families as a group. I will present you with a binder that has everything that the student will need for the experience. And some of you have already had this meeting with me. Some of you have not yet. It depends on when your specific date. So 13 months, we'll have an opening family meeting, and I will set that up with you. Following that meeting, I will reach out to the tutor who should reach out to you then and set up a weekly appointment. That's the goal. I know. I will follow up where it didn't happen. All right. And each week the student should have a 30-minute lesson with the tutor. Now, my goal is we provide the students with the ability to read. We provide the students with the ability, hopefully through the trope class, to be able to learn the melodies that they need to use. And my goal is that the lessons are not the time when the student is learning, but rather the time where the student is refining what they've learned on their own through those skill sets, right? Hopefully, this is a self-guided process in which we can help refine the skills as opposed to sitting and teaching each word, one word at a time. All right. All of them, with the exception of the Haftarah and the Torah reading, all of it is recorded online on the Brit Shalom website. So all the prayers are there. Okay. And we will show the student where to find all that as well. It's on our website. We ask, in addition to the 30-minute lesson, that the students study every single day. All right, we ask for about 30 minutes a day, and that they be consistent as much as possible. With the lessons, they will be set up at a time in which is available for both the families and the tutor. You've got to meet both. But what can't happen, I can tell you in advance, is you cannot switch the lesson from week to week. It has to be consistent. All right. And so the tutor schedules are booked with many, many, many students. And my schedule is booked as well. And so once we get into that process, it's got to be a consistent time. Doesn't mean there can never be a change, but it has to be that the baseline is that we're the same time every week. Note that we don't do lessons during religious school hours. All right. Religious school is a time for religious school. And that we have a couple lessons. Again, everything I'm going to say, by the way, is with the presumption at some point that we're actually back in person and doing things in person. All right. We have a couple lessons that follow school on Sundays. We generally reserve those lessons for people coming from the furthest distance. So for example, we had a family that was coming from Lake Jackson. We weren't going to ask them to come back a second day if they had an hour-and-a-half drive to the synagogue. We will reserve those lessons for families coming from the furthest distance so that it can work for them as well. So they will have the half-hour lesson starting about 1 year out every week. Every 5 to 6 weeks, I will also schedule a lesson with the student. This way, there are no surprises. I can be, and by the way, I invite parents to that check-in lesson with me. And this way, there are no surprises. We know every 5 to 6 weeks, are we on schedule? Are we on target? If not, do we need a little bit of a kick in the pants to get us going? If we're in good place, it's all good. And each student is different and each family has a dynamic that's different. By the way, one of the things I would ask at our initial meeting, each family has a different approach. All right, I can't guess what that is. Some families will say, I want you to push my kid. I want as much as we can get out of this. And some families will say, I don't want my kid stressed. I don't know where you as an individual family are, and you've got to give me that guidance so I know how to approach and how to help your child best within your own wishes. And if you can kind of give me that guidance along the way, that would be helpful. Rabbi?
Let me just flag that point as a beautiful uniqueness of our synagogue community, that we're able to, because of the numbers that are manageable, we're able to really customize the life cycle and coming of age that we'll talk about at the end of this workshop in a more personal way, and really focus on what's important to you and your family and express your values through this experience.
Thank you. All right. So yeah, yes.
Question, and I hope this doesn't come across poorly. So we view the bat mitzvah process as extremely important to Aurelia and her development and to us as a family. I am struggling a little bit just thinking through the fact that she would potentially have 4 Zoom meetings per week associated with religious school. So between Sunday for 2 hours, a Wednesday meeting, a Tuesday meeting, another meeting with the tutor, it's a lot of Zoom. And so I'm kind of thinking, should she, I mean, I hate to say this, like maybe she'll cut out Sunday because like I can't in good conscience have I hate to say it, like the kids are just on the computer a lot potentially. And maybe I'm being unrealistic. I don't know. We might be an outlier. But I could use your input about how to kind of think through that, because 4 Zoom meetings a week, you know, I'm an adult and I'm on Zoom a lot and I find it difficult. So how should we balance that during this upcoming year? Because her bat mitzvah is in October. So we need to make, a lot of this will be remote.
Thank you. I think a lot of it will be personally crafted for your family. I think that's one of the things that we're realizing is that, you know, right, the pandemic affects different families in different ways. And so, right, normally, you know, we think of, you know, spending a lot of time in the shul as a really positive thing. But I understand how Zoom fatigue can make it, you know, turn it negative. So you're right. That's a new issue that we're going to have to figure out with you. So thank you for raising it.
So what I would suggest is
not for you, but for the whole cohort. You know,
right.
Thank you for raising it.
If you're going to miss once she starts bat mitzvah lessons, if you're going to miss one of the days, I would say skip Wednesday, because Wednesday's focused on Hebrew reading, and since bat mitzvah is about Hebrew reading anyway, that would be my choice, as opposed to Sunday, which is far more about Judaics at this point. It's normal. We normally, when we have religious school, we don't break it like that. But during this time of COVID, that is how we're doing it. So I would say this could replace the Wednesday Hebrew reading, but I'd prefer they be there on Sundays.
Thank you. I'm not saying I want to skip. I want her to be engaged for the whole year ahead.
Right.
Just to clarify for the little ears that were listening, you're not encouraging anyone to skip Wednesdays, correct, Kendra? You're just saying if they have to, that's the day.
Right. Look, the more exposure to Hebrew reading, the more exposure it makes it much easier. By the way, at the end of school as well, we do the tefillah. On Wednesdays, we do the Friday evening service, and that is, you know, it isn't aimed at bar bat mitzvah. It's aimed at lifetime skills, but they are skills that can be used for the bar bat mitzvah. On Sundays, we do the Torah service for Saturday morning. And so they're also being exposed. And what we find is the kids who are going through that when it comes to bar bat mitzvah lessons are they're semi there already. And the preparation is easier. So yes, the more, the better. But at the same time, we recognize if there's a particular family that has particular issues, you need to make your choices in a way that's not going to be unproductive. Okay. All right. So the lessons will be once a week. Every 5 to 6 weeks will be the lesson with me. We will do 2 rehearsals on the Bima about a month in advance, and this will all be again in the manual, about a month in advance, and I'll schedule with you. We will have an opportunity to be on the Bima, to walk through the whole thing, to carry the Torah around, to make it more comfortable in process. And then the Thursday before, that afternoon, I'll also schedule a second rehearsal. I will tell you, during the first rehearsal a month out, we often discover where some of the questions arise. And sometimes it's a shock reality check for a student. And that has a power unto itself. The last day is really comfort building. On Thursday, there's no learning going on. It's really about comfort building. It's an opportunity to go through everything one last time, to answer questions for the student, to answer questions for the parents, and to just build that last second comfort, which is really one of our major goals. I know Rabbi Teller is big on this. How do we help you feel comfortable in this process? All right, so those are the 2 rehearsals. I would say to you, people can take pictures during the rehearsals. You're welcome to do that, with the understanding that it doesn't interfere with the process. You can take pictures as we're doing the rehearsals. We're not going to stop and pose for a picture, because the major goal is the process at that point. Okay. All right. Any questions about lessons? Okay, good. Shabbat attendance. We find ourselves in a very unique situation. Normally, as we met with all of you last year, we would say people come to services, check in with us, and that there's a comfort that gets built through the attendance, through watching what's going on, through singing along, to feeling part of community. Right now, we find ourselves in a unique situation in that it's all online. But I still would encourage, although we're not taking attendance, obviously, I would encourage as frequently as possible to join us on Zoom, to join us on YouTube, to join us on live stream, whatever works best for you. The more frequently the visual and the auditory experience can happen, the more comfortable both you and your children will be. The worst case scenario is for a parent to be so unfamiliar with things that they're so stressed about all of that they lose the beauty of the experience because they're stressed out not knowing what comes next. I don't want to see anybody feel that in that moment. And so the more frequently you can attend, the more frequently you can build this into your comfort zone, the better you're going to enjoy the moment. And as Chris pointed out before, you want to create those visual moments, not be so stressed out by little details along the way. So as much as you can, join us online. When we get back to the sanctuary, please God, please join us there as frequently as you can.
The Rahimis
Just-
have a question.
Please.
Okay, a couple questions. Has there been any discussion about in-person meetings if they're small and 6 feet apart with masks on? Because in general, a Zoom meeting is just challenging for my family and for my organizational skills. I'm just going to be honest. I feel like I'm failing at showing up to half the Zooms because I can't remember. And also, at what point has there been a discussion? At what point will we lose? Like, if his bar mitzvah is next September, will there be a virtual option for the bar mitzvah? Or like, at what point will you cut off? Because right now, everyone, like just the close families coming into the service, and everyone's watching it through the link. So at what point will we, or can we opt for that? Or are we not given a choice? Like, I think this is something really important to think about in our planning for next year.
Beautiful. You want me to start?
Please.
Looking into my rabbinic magic ball, right? I imagine that there's going to be a choice for a while. Just hearing the word cut off bothers me. So I'm going to push hard to kind of have freedom of choice for the next, like, I don't know, for as long as the pandemic's going on, we should have freedom of choice. And I think that I'll be able to succeed in that over the next, as long as there's a pandemic reality, there ought to be a choice to go virtual.
Okay. In terms of the individual meetings, I'm not sure. I mean, I'm 62 years old, and so I'm somewhat reluctant to sit in a room with people as a general. When we have we have meetings at the synagogue, the rabbi's in his office, I'm in my office, Melissa's in her office, and we're all on Zoom. We don't get together in a room. I don't know when that's going to change, but certainly at my age, I'm far more reluctant than I might have been 30 years ago. And so there may be opportunities where we can do certain things, but as much as possible, we're going to try and maintain a sense of safety to the largest extent possible. If you have particular issues, we can talk about it and try and personalize it. But I personally am very reluctant to do that.
Yeah, and I think I want to accentuate what you said, which is luckily we have the ability to personalize the experience, and everybody these days has their own special concerns, and so there's not that many of us on this call. So luckily we're going to be able to work with each of you individually. So I want to just reassure you that I understand everybody has these different idiosyncratic needs right now, and we'll work with you to best we can. And we have a lot of flexibility. Thank God we have a lot of freedom to accommodate.
So just as curious as a scenario, if like we opt into a virtual bar mitzvah now or 6 months from now, do you then tell the congregation that no one can come that day other than the family?
I didn't quite follow that. I'm imagining that there'll be, at some point, there'll be people live and people virtual, and both will be able to participate at the same time, right? So that's what we're doing.
If we opt into the virtual and we do the service at the synagogue, are there limits on who can come?
During the pandemic, right now, we're not meeting physically, right? If there comes a time when we do meet physically, then there will likely be a lot of restrictions.
Are the bar mitzvahs not happening at the synagogue right now? Virtual?
Right now, we're not meeting physically at all. We have our daily minyan online and our Shabbat minyan online.
Right.
And we're getting really good at it. It's been quite remarkable.
Right. So each of the families that has a bar mitzvah through this coming June has been given the option of either postponing or having it virtually. Now, in postponing, there's no guarantee we'll be back into the sanctuary, but there's a chance. So, but we have a lot of virtual B'nai Mitzvah right now, and it's been about 50-50. About 50% of the families have said, I want to do it now, and 50% have said, I'll postpone it to the following year when there's an open date. All right. But again, we're also saying to them, we can't guarantee even a year from now, if things don't improve, that that's going to be the case, but it increases your chances that it does. Right. Certainly there's a bar mitzvah on December 19th, a virtual bar mitzvah that may be worth, you may want to turn on that morning and watch. So you have a sense of how it plays in a virtual setting. December 19th is the next one.
And Sharianne, are there, can we watch bar mitzvah services, past bar mitzvah services easily?
We upload them onto YouTube. So
Check the YouTube, Bris Shalom YouTube channel, and you can look at a past bar mitzvah if you'd like.
Yeah,
it was 2 weeks ago.
Bris Shalom youtube.com/congregation Bris Shalom will take you to our page.
Right.
Channel.
Can you send us that link so we can pull up the most recent ones to get a visual sense?
Yeah. Sharianne, would you post it in the room here? Okay. Yeah, there's a million questions in our new reality, and very fair, very valid. And some of it in terms of what we'll do once we're back in the sanctuary, some of it is yet to be determined. We haven't quite figured it all out. It will be modified for a while, as the rabbi was saying. And conversations with you with the families may help us kind of figure out what that really means. Talis and tefillin. So for talit, we ask that all Jewish men wear a talit during the services. We encourage women to do so as well. But anybody who comes up on the bima for an aliyah in any way, we ask men or women to wear a talit. Talit, that's been the tradition at Brit Shalom, and we ask you to consider that. Tefillin, we ask for every male student to own their own tefillin. Once again, we encourage all the women to do so as well. We'll do a session on tefillin next time, but we know that Rashi's granddaughters 1,000 years ago were wearing tefillin. It is not a brand new innovation that we're throwing in your face. There is a history to this. All right. What we can do is work with you on finding the least expensive tefillin. There are bar mitzvah sets, meaning that they're smaller and therefore generally less expensive. And like anything made of leather, there's high quality leather, there's lesser quality leather, and you could spend $1,000 on tefillin, and you can probably spend $125 on tefillin. But we are committed enough to this process that if you need any financial help in getting tefillin, we will help you. We will find a way to help you. Not the $1,000 set, by the way. But if you need tefillin, we will find a way to help in that process because we believe in it. All right. Speaking of money, Melissa is going to guide us through this next section on some of the financial components of this process. So Melissa, I turn the floor and the room over to you.
Well, thank you. Hello, everybody. So to start off, I am very experienced in the B'nai Mitzvah process here at Brit Shalom. I have had 2 daughters, both have their bat mitzvahs here. I am wearing one of their t-shirts right now. I don't know if you can see it. Anyway, the last one was 3 years ago. So anybody that has any questions, I'm happy to answer. I've been through it twice and it's just a wonderful experience. So now, yay, I get to talk about money. That's always fun. So there is a cost for the B'nai Mitzvah lessons for the tutors. It is $950. We put it on your bill a year in advance. You have the year to pay for that. Another thing is talking about hopefully being in person, which we're all hoping for, is the Kiddush. So normally for the B'nai Mitzvahs, we ask that you sponsor the Kiddush for that Shabbat for the congregation. This would be, so we do have Nasher Catering on site here at the synagogue. You are welcome to use other caterers as well, kosher caterers. We ask you to work directly with the caterers as far as the cost is concerned. And it's just a lovely experience. It's a lovely experience for the members. They love to be part of it. It's just wonderful. We just, when we're working on it, we just need to talk about scheduling time and dates and so forth to, and whatever you want to do as far as decorating or tables or so, we'll work through the caterers to do that with you. We also offer bake dates. So if you want to come to the synagogue and bring your friends and bake at the synagogue for your event, we're happy to do that. So that's just something that you would need to schedule with us. We're really looking forward to it. It's just such a fun experience and it's such a lovely experience for the families and for the children. And yeah, we're excited. Does anybody have any questions for me?
So if I may, I just want to point out the bar mitzvah fee of the $950 is literally a direct pass-through. It goes right to the tutors. As a matter of fact, it actually costs us a little bit more than that for the tutors in process. So it's a direct pass-through. The synagogue is not making money on that. That it literally is paying the tutor. The second thing is on the kiddushes. Melissa, correct me, but I believe there's more than one tier that people can opt on what it is they want and different tiers of expenses. Am I correct?
Yeah, I mean, you can do whatever you want when you talk to the caterers. I mean, that's your opportunity to handle it however you would like. There's
general range of low and high.
So I've seen we've run the gamut. So I've seen B'nai Mitzvahs that the Kiddush probably cost $5,000. And then could be a $1,200. $1,200 is normally the minimum of what it would cost to have Kiddush for the family, for the members.
Anywhere from 1,200.
1,200 to whatever you want to do. Yes. Yes.
Thank you, Melissa. And again, we're here. We'll help you. We put it on as Melissa said, it'll show up on your bill a year in advance so that you have some time to pay it off on time, as opposed to all at one chunk. We do obviously ask that it all be paid off about 2 months in advance prior to the bar bat mitzvah. Okay.
Last question, Melissa. What's an average Kiddush cost?
An average Kiddush cost?
For bar bat mitzvah.
I would think, I mean, it also depends on the people. We ask you to assume 125 synagogue members in your count when you're doing it, because that's pretty much the normal amount of members that come for Shabbat services. So whatever your count is, you're going to have 100 family members. Then we tell the caterers 225, excuse me. And the average is a good question. A few $1,000s is probably the average. Yeah. 3,000.
Yeah. All right. And nobody's passed out, so I think we're in good shape. Okay. We'll go on. I'm assuming there are no questions. All right. Honors. During the course of the service, you will have the opportunity to present honors to different people in different ways. There's ark openings, there's English readings, there's being called to the Torah. People will have the opportunity to read Torah, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. With the exception of the English readings, all of the honorees need to be Jewish. All right. If you have non-Jewish people who you want to honor, the rabbi will work with you individually to process that through, to find ways to involve them. but the traditional honors by definition are all by our Jewish people. All right, so that's the first thing. Second thing is we ask that nobody have more than one honor. All right, so please try as much as you can to do that. For those called up to the Torah, we will need their Hebrew names in advance. So part of your homework will be to go out and gather Hebrew names for those people you want to present with that kind of honor. We also ask that those people who have a Hebrew speaking part, such as the blessings, that they be people who are capable of doing it and that it not end up looking shoddy. Now, to enable that, we do have transliteration. We can help with that process. The blessings, the sounding of it, the audio of it is online, and so people can find it and practice. But we ask that anybody who comes up, indeed, if they need to practice, let them do that. All right, that they be prepared for the moment that they're standing before God and the community. All right, and we're happy to assist along the way if they need extra help. Note that there's usually 8 Torah readings. The bat mitzvah or bar mitzvah has 1. That's the maft here in terms of the blessings. The parents usually have a second. And of the other 6, we always reserve 1 for the congregation at large, because there are baby namings, there are other weddings, there are ufrufs, there are other events in the life of the congregation that need to be honored and celebrated on every Shabbat. So we always reserve 1 for the congregation. So you have the students, you have the parents, and then you would have 5 others in the course of the morning. All right, in terms of the aliyahs for calling to the Torah. The B'nai Mitzvah manual, which you'll get tomorrow, will explain all the other honors to you. But again, Sherry Ann is available. If you have questions in terms of any of it, anything you find in the manual, Sherry Ann is your first stop. And the rabbi and I can also help. But she's your first stop. All shopping goes through Sherry Ann. Right? That's where you start with all of this. The people who are the Gabayim that stand on the side of the Torah and do the calling up, their real role is to correct the Torah reading. They have all the tools in front of them. And so the congregation reserves that to members of the congregation because they have to be fluent. Generally, they have to be able to read faster than most of the Torah readers who are up there and be able to catch errors and correct them. So that is reserved for the congregation. Those 2 are not available for family honors. If you have a rabbi in the family, maybe you can talk to Rabbi Teller. We can talk about that, but short of something like that, we generally reserve it for our most proficient members to take those roles. Speaking of Torah readings, we want to encourage the student to do as much of the Torah reading as is possible. That's our goal. We also want the family to be able to have members of the families read Torah if they so choose. And so up until 3 months prior, and I'll send you, you'll get a letter from me about 5 months beforehand to remind you of this. All of the Torah readings are yours to assign until 3 months in advance. After that point, anything that's not assigned, our congregants sign up to read. All right, they wait for that to find out what's open and available, and then they sign up. And I will work that through with you. I'll send you a note saying, who would you like to read, et cetera. And by that point, I'll also have a pretty good sense from having met with your child, how much they're going to be reading at the bar bat mitzvah. So I'll have a good sense of their normal progress and what we can expect. So until 3 months in advance, all the Torah readings are yours. After that, we open it up to the congregation. Okay? All right. The speeches, we've already begun the discussion. You'll work with the rabbi to prepare that. Sherry Ann will set up a series of appointments with you to get you to meet with the rabbi. But we began the process of familiarization of your text this morning. We hope you'll continue to do that. They will be in your binder. If you've gotten it, it's in there. If you haven't gotten the binder, you haven't had the 13-month meeting with me, you will get it. Your specific text will be in there so that you can begin that process. All right. Sherry Ann, would you share with us some of the marketing, publicity, and other sort of details that only you really have a command of?
Sure. Hello, everybody. So in a normal world before COVID, we used to hand out the little pamphlet for services, which we call a madrik. And when there's a bar bat mitzvah, we allow the families to put a half-page insert, which we have some guidelines for. Monday, tomorrow, I'll be sending out the B'nai Mitzvah manual. There's a lot of guidance in there for what goes into that insert. One of the things is any Tikkun Olam projects that the kids are involved in. They'll mention some about that, and tzedakah, if any. And so that it's just a short little thing, and it's I'll work with you guys on putting that together. Generally, you submit the stuff to me, and I put it together in our format. And we also ask for a headshot for publicity, which would basically only goes to our members in our e-bulletin. The week of, we'll announce the bar bat mitzvah, and we ask for a headshot. It doesn't have to be professional. It can be a soccer photo. It could be just anything, it can be informal, just something to share with the members. And then we also have the, you guys have an opportunity to take pictures with the clergy or Rabbi and Cantor as the day gets closer. If again, that has all kind of taken a backside to COVID. We haven't really been doing any of that, unfortunately, except for the headshot. We are still doing that in our e-bulletin. But basically, I'll get with you guys, and it's not mandatory that you do so, but a lot of families like to have some pictures with the clergy. And as Cantor had mentioned previously, it can be planned. A lot of times family like to plan it around the rehearsal. We generally, the final rehearsal that is, but generally what we do is we'll do it before the rehearsal or after the rehearsal so that you can still have a full rehearsal. Another option is to do it early on Friday. That was a popular thing we were doing, pre-COVID, but to do it between like 2 and 4 o'clock on Friday of the Simcha. So that's about it as far as the publicity goes. Anybody have any questions about that?
So one of the things you'll see in the manual, it talks about getting us the material somewhere around 6 weeks in advance so that we have the most ability to make sure it's correct, to go through it and get back to you with any questions. One of the most valuable things that will be in the manual is a checklist. And I would suggest taking this checklist and putting it on your refrigerator. It will say 13 months in advance, meeting with Cantor Levine. 12 months in advance, start lessons. 6 weeks in advance, do marketing, have the marketing done. It will have this step by step so that you have some visual reminders of where you should be at each step of the way. All right, and we've done this, we've put it together over the years and modified it as new experiences have happened, and have found it to be a very valuable tool. So I really would encourage you to take that and put it in the most visible place you can. There's millions of details here, we realize that. And so this will help concretize a little bit and help you in terms of a timeline in process. So,
I have a quick
yes,
question.
Please.
Just what is the role for, we have a bar mitzvah for the Friday night service? Do they participate in that? Is that part of what the bar mitzvah weekend?
Rabbi.
Excellent question. During COVID, we've sort of de-emphasized the Friday night participation, but it's always available if you'd like to add it on. So, but post-COVID, God willing, when that time comes, we'll go back to our regular routine, which is, the Friday night is one of the participatory services for the family, and we encourage the bar or bat mitzvah to daven, Mari to lead us in the evening prayers, and as much as they would like to on Friday night.
Okay, yeah.
So pre-COVID, no. Post-COVID, yes. But pre-COVID, no means we could also add it on and do something special privately for the family.
Wow, life has changed. Okay, so I want to go on to another area. What we in Jewish tradition, there's two ways of understanding our obligations. One of those between man and God, and the other is between man and his fellow man or human beings. And so there are two ways in that second area that we express it. One is tzedakah, the giving of money, and the other is gemilut chasadim, the giving of time to help improve the world. There are a number of different traditions in terms of tzedakah, in terms of the financial piece. There's one that is out there, it's a suggestion, but you can do this with any organization. Mazon is an organization designed to help feed the hungry. And many congregations have a tradition of asking the bar bat mitzvah student, this is not out of the parents' money, to take of the gift they receive for the bar bat mitzvah, 3%, and donate that money to a cause like Mazon for those who are hungry. If Federation is more your cause, you can go that direction. You really can pick where you would like it to go, but it is a way of saying, I'm going to share of the beauty and the benefits of this moment that I'm having with those who are less fortunate in their lives. And so it's something to consider. It's obviously not mandatory, but we encourage this as one of the values that we hope the students will gain in this process of bar bat mitzvah. Another thing that can be done oftentimes, assuming we're back in the synagogue, we have seen families when they make the centerpieces for the tables at the Kiddush. What they've done is they've put together a series of food boxes into a centerpiece that is then donated to a food pantry following. Right? It's a subtle message to the children, it's a subtle message to the community, and it's a way of saying, I want to share the blessings and the benefits of this wonderful moment in my life. We also, right now, we're not asking anybody to do this because it's almost impossible. There are very few opportunities, but normally we ask students to do a mitzvah project. In some way, to find something, a way of going out and being involved in an organization that helps others. We don't care what that choice is. We want it to be something that the student will feel passionate about. They identify themselves, because our goal is that post bar bat mitzvah, they'll continue to do it. It's not just a matter of fulfilling this obligation for Brit Shalom or bar mitzvah. It's something that speaks to them and really touches their hearts, and they'll want to do ongoing. Rabbi.
Yeah, so I just want to emphasize the delineation of the two different suggestions. One of them is tzedakah, is financially based, and the other one is face-to-face interaction, right? And so what we're hoping for the Mitzvah Project is really, right, visiting visiting older folks, or feeding the hungry, or helping underprivileged kids, right? To do something with to interface with someone less fortunate than you. So I'm wondering if you have ideas about how to do that online. Have you seen any interesting sort of volunteer opportunities, face-to-face direct service?
Are you asking me, or is it a y'all?
The y'all, yeah.
So Jamie, I know that it's face-to-face isn't, you haven't done it necessarily with JFS, but there've been other kinds of opportunities. Would you share some?
Certainly with the seniors, becoming like a pen pal or writing letters, kind of going back to some old-fashioned things, because they are not as tech savvy and they are definitely more isolated. So doing something like that, those are great opportunities that you can do during these times. So that's one way to think about it. I know that there's, if not through JFS, I'm sure there's other organizations as well that are setting that up. I also know through, I've seen just from our own research, there's a lot of ways to help organizations through collection of things that organizations need. So it's not that face-to-face, but it's still helping organizations through food drives or blanket drives or things like that.
Thank you. So I think if we have it on the agenda for an upcoming meeting, that we usually go through the typical opportunities, but I think we'll have to adjust it for
Yeah,
virtual.
we will. We actually normally we have a morning in which we bring in a series of organizations to present about what the opportunities are. Right. And there's always limitations as well with many organizations in terms of ages. And so there's many things you might think, I want to do that, and then they won't allow a 13-year-old to do. So you've got to kind of watch to be aware of that. And now in the face-to-face, we'll get yet another challenge. But as much as possible, our goal is to provide the students with this moment in which they understand that becoming an adult means reaching out to others who are less fortunate and making a difference in our world around us. Okay. Other than decorum, I think we're going to stop. I just want to remind you that because when we're in the sanctuary on Shabbat, there are certain restrictions. We obviously ask that there's no smoking, and there's no, that people know in advance that you'll let your guests know that that's who we are as a community and how we observe Shabbat as a community. That we ask that picture taking not occur in the sanctuary on Shabbat. We have a video camera that records. I mean, that's how half of the time that's how you're watching it online. That's how you watch the high holidays. Okay, we have the recording that's going on, and so we can arrange for you to get a copy of that. But we ask that there be no cameras flashing and things to that effect during services. Please, it helps us observe Shabbat. And I think the rest of it you will find in the manual in terms of the nuts and bolts. I will open up to just a couple of questions, and then we'll go on to the next session. Are there any specific questions?
We have a question over here. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
We wanted to know if there was an opportunity to do a fill-in session like on a Thursday before the actual bar mitzvah.
Yeah, there's a tradition in many families that there'd be a special ceremony to try on your tefillin for the first time on a weekday morning before the bar mitzvah on Shabbat, because on Shabbat, as you all know, we don't wear the tefillin. So they make a special point of coming in during the week of the bar mitzvah to wear tefillin, and we've done it several times, and it's lovely, and the Minyan group embraces it, and it's so it's a lot of fun, and I encourage it.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Others? We've thrown a lot at you. All right. So let me just say the following. If the questions arise tomorrow, we'll still be here. All right. Don't feel the pressure. All right. We're here. Our goal is to make this process wonderful. I know I speak for the rabbi in saying that the B'nai Mitzvah in the congregation are among the highlights of our experiences in the congregation. Weddings and bar mitzvahs, it doesn't get much better than that. It's really wonderful. And I personally love the fact that I have the chance to get to know each of the families as we go through this process in a much deeper way and to share these moments. It's an incredible opportunity. It's something that when the day comes that I retire, I am going to be so sad, so sad to lose out on. All right. And so let us help you. Let us join with you in this celebration as we go forward. We really want to share in this moment.
I love it.
All right. Rabbi, we have a coming of age session with you.
Yeah.
For students, this may be an interesting moment for you in process. The rabbi is going to tackle some serious issues.
Don't freak anybody out. We're fine.
No freaking out. All right. Rabbi, it's all yours.
Thank you. All right. Ken Levine, thank you so much. I know you have another session to go to, so at some point is that right? You're going to beg off? Okay. So thank you so much for this beautiful session. Thorough and compassionate. So thank you. And empathetic. So thank you. Friends, so we're going to close out the session with a coming of age discussion. And so here's how this is going to work. Normally I'd hand out a text, and we're here and we'd be in person, and I'd host a discussion, and we'd sort of learn together and elucidate the text together in a group participatory interactive situation. We can't do that right now. It's a more frontal piece. So here's how it's going to do. I'm just going to give you the essence as best I can on one foot, which is a rabbinic tradition, yes, from Hillel. And so here we go. First of all, I just want to mention that, which is usually when we're here in person, there's an underlying goal. There's an ulterior motive we have besides all the data and information, which is to provide you with comfort and ease, and to give you the message that we're going to take care of you. And so that's easier in person, just for you to know. But I just wanted to say it explicitly so that I can't do it with my body language and my, proximity. So I'll do it with my words. Yeah, we're here for you. We're going to take good care of you. And it's, as you heard from Kenna Levine, we get a lot of personal satisfaction from serving you in this moment. And so rest assured, we're going to take good care of you. Just want to put that out there. And call me and test that, because I'm willing to be put to the test. Good. So coming of age, right? So this is our Jewish way of celebrating this important moment. But if you think about other religions, other cultures, other civilizations, everybody has their own way of celebrating this moment. And so I know of one, I don't know. So think about it for yourselves. If you're familiar with any other cultures that celebrate a coming of age experience, think for yourself. Do you have any? Think about it. I know there's a Latino Hispanic tradition. There's a Native American tradition that I'm somewhat familiar with. So students first, think about it. You know what there's a Mexican word, yes, a Spanish word for a coming of age. Does anybody know what that is?
Quinceañera?
Thank you. Yeah. So what is that? Tell me about that. What age is that?
I think 16.
Yeah, so I think 16, and there's a big party, and and the point is, you're moving from the girl is moving from a girl to a woman, right? And you're celebrating this blossoming, right, from a girl to a woman, right? And good. So that's the quinceañera. Do I have that right? I'm not an expert on that, right?
15.
17?
15.
15, quinceañera. Okay, thank you, 15. All right, thank you. And my Spanish isn't that good, apparently. So there you go. So that's it. Any other Native American? Does anybody know about that? There's some sort of a vision quest, right? When the boy turns into a man, right, on the cusp of manhood, they take him by the hand and they take him to the mountaintop. Does anybody know about this? And you get your spirit animal, right? You go up there and there's a fasting and then you come back and you get your spirit animal, right? And that's your coming of age moment. Do I have that right, Mark? Yeah, Goldberg. Do you know of any other? Tell us about quinceañera. Yeah.
No, everything's good. I don't have anything bad.
No, is there any other? Do you know of any universal coming of age experiences?
The Aboriginal walkabout.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's an Aboriginal walkabout.
Tell us about that.
I think in among the Aborigines, young man, it's much like common throughout indigenous cultures, which young man is sent out into nature to become a man and to live off the land and cope through different challenges.
Good. Thank you. So this is your vision quest. This is our Jewish coming of age experience, right? And we set forth some serious challenges for you to learn Hebrew, to get up on the bima and chant from the Torah, right? This is a serious challenge that we present to you, and we're here to support you and to nurture you. And you are moving from a boy and a girl to a man and a woman, right? And from a kid to an adult. And so this is an amazing moment in a parent's life, in a family's life. You're moving from a kid who, parents had to take care of, and give them food and put a bowl of food in front of them and eat, and to a person, an actual alive person that thinks and walks and talks and has opinions. And this is what's happening right now, and that's an amazing miracle. And not only that, but you're moving from one stage of life to another, moving from a kid to a young adult. And that happens now, right? So one of the questions is, what's the deal with 13 or 12 or 13, or right? Why now, right? So why is a quinceañera now? Why is an Aboriginal walkabout now? Why is a Native American spirit named now? What's happening in your life that's different? Are you actually becoming a man or a woman? Like, you can't drive yet, you're still living at home, right? What's your license is at 16, voting is at 18, drinking is at 21. So nothing happens at 12 or 13, you're still a kid, right? So what's the deal here, right? Why are we celebrating in this moment? What's the actual change in your life? Here's where it gets a little weird, folks. Biology, right? Biologically, when are you an adult? When can you reproduce? When can you have a kid of your own? Anybody? Right? If we didn't forget about like all the civil marriage and, but like biologically, when can you have a kid? Anybody have an answer for that?
Maybe like technically 11 or 12.
I'm sorry, technically, biologically, technically, yeah. 11 or 12, yeah. Any other answers? Yeah, around there, around now, right? Now's when, right? A year ago, around now, right? And there's a wide range of when, right, the maturation, physical maturation happens. Anyway, from 11 to 15, right? In this range. And so that's why we're celebrating now. And that's, right, you're physically, biologically, actually, technically, right, literally, right, becoming an adult, right? And that's an interesting thing, right? It's not about something outside. It's not about a license. It's not about a right to vote. It's about you. You are becoming an adult. Your body is becoming an adult, right? And so that comes with a lot of change, right? Hormonal change, a sociological change, right? This is a weird time. So now I'm going to talk to the parents, right? Parents, how can you, in this liminal moment, anybody know the word, kids, students, what's the word liminal? In this transitional moment, right? In this transitional moment, how can you help your kids? How can you help your kids? How can you guide your kids to Menschlichkeit and being contributing members of society and becoming more righteous and becoming more sensitive and becoming more loving, right? So first of all, they're not. Melissa has 2 kids who went through the process. I have 4 kids who went through the process, so we have experience. So here's the lesson. At 13, the kids can't really hear philosophy and theology, right? We can start, we can dabble. Not quite ready. They're looking at you as role models. The best way to teach them is to do, is to show. Don't tell, show. Show, don't tell is the best. I have a degree in television writing, and so that was the motto of my program, right? Show, don't tell. Right? Words are limited. Facts, data is where it's at, right? So show them how to be a mensch. Show them how to engage in community. Show them how to be a community leader. Show them how to be a righteous person, right? And so this is our moment. This is our moment to really focus on our kids' development because they're going to be independent soon. They're going to be independent beings. I have a senior in high school, right? He's a man at that point, right? And now's our time to influence. Now's our time to bond. And so that's what we're doing, right? So yeah, there's a lot of technical stuff about today, a lot of logistics. This is a logistical challenge, and just like any life cycle, right? There's invitation lists and guest lists and everything that has to be done. One of my jobs is to help us understand the real depth of what's happening, the emotional depth of what's happening in this moment. Levine's going to help us with the rituals and the system, and the neshama and the heart and the soul. Right, and I'm hopefully going to help us keep our eye on the prize, which is what we're doing here is building a next generation of mensches coming out of the shul. And so just so proud of the work that we're doing, and looking forward to partnering with each and every one of you to make this as deep and meaningful as you'd like. Questions? Or, all right, friends. All right, so in this liminal moment, we bless you. We bless you with focus. We bless you with intention. We bless you with community. We bless you with a sense of belonging, right? And we're going to go through this together. It's a weird time. Aside from the normal coming of age weirdness, we also have the pandemic overlay. And so it's even more important that we're all connecting and understanding each other and listening to each other. So let's end with a bracha. We'll take any last questions or comments, and then we'll end with a bracha when you're ready. All right, let's do it. Place a hand on your children. May God bless you and keep you. May God shine light upon you and be gracious to you. May God bless you with understanding, with inspiration and motivation and enthusiasm and excitement and energy. And together we say amen. All right, friends.
Thank you all.
Hey, Christine, before we sign off, could everybody just say what their dates are so we know like kind of whose mitzvah is when?
Okay.
Sorry, just was wondering who's and when.
I can probably go through the sequence with you.
Okay.
Well, let's give everybody a moment to introduce themselves.
Yes. All right. So Jamie, why don't you start? Why don't you tell what? So introduce yourself and tell us your date.
Well, this is Eliana, and her date is October 23rd.
That is correct.
Yay!
Let's see. Let's go around. Scheidelmans.
I'm Aurelia, and my date is October 16th.
Yep. Good. Yeah. Max.
My name is Max, and my date is March 2022.
That's wrong.
March 12th, 2022. Yes.
Okay.
Tolpin.
I'm Jared, and my date is October 2nd, 2021.
Goldbergs.
I'm Leo, and my date is March 5th, 2022. Hey, stop crying.
Okay. Wades.
I'm Brandon, and my date is January 8th, 2022.
Very cool. Let's see what I'm going around here. Paransky.
My name is Shai, and my bar mitzvah is October 9th, 2023. 2021.
21. Yes. All right. Rahimi.
Hi, I'm Gabe, and my bar mitzvah is on September 24th, 2021.
25th. 24th, 25th. Yeah. Yep. Anybody else? Did I miss anybody? I think some people signed off. All right. Thank you all for being here this morning. Thank you for letting us be part of this process. It really is a blessing. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
See you later.